Good evening, fellow Plexers. Tonight's video is going to help one of my viewers on my YouTube channel. He's running Unraid for Plex server and he's got media under Unraid, but he'd also like to add media in from his Asustor NAS. So this is just going to be a rehashment of my playlist where I used a Intel 11th gen NUC to connect to media on my Synology NAS. So first of all, let's start with the NAS. Doesn't matter if it's a Synology or not. You have to create a user and have a password associated that will then use an Unraid. So with a Synology NAS, you go to Control Panel, you go to Users and Group, and you create the password. Now, I would not create an admin user. I would create just a regular user and give them access to just the shared media folder you want to be involved in. So I've already done that, and I've given that user access to this media folder, and then I have nested sort folders for each library type below that. So that's about all I need Synology DSM for. I've already done that. So let me get my cheat sheet. Now, before I post the video, I'll remove this test user and this password that goes with it. But get prepped. You'll want to have the IP address of the NAS, and let's format this for Unraid. Just copy this. It's /mnt/remotes/ the IP address. In my case, it's 192.168.68.116 with an underscore and the name of that media, shared media folder. Mine is just plain media, and it's lowercase on my Synology NAS that way. And I can actually get in here and show you. This is Pop OS's browser, and I'm just browsing into this folder. And then this is everything inside that folder. So this is the prep, and I'll show you why when we get into Unraid. Okay, so this is a test install of Unraid I just spun up yesterday. It's got its own data. It's a simple cache drive with Plex server installed on the cache drive here. And it's a simple 1 terabyte laptop rusty hard drive serving as the test media. And the Plex media is in this folder called Shared Folder Media PD2. And then I have a sort folder set up for every type of Plex library with actual library folders below it. All public domain media. All right, first of all, we have to stop the array, but let me stop the Plex container manually. And while we're here, before we stop the array, let me go in and edit the container. Let's show all the settings. So it's very simple. It's a Linux service or Linux server Docker container. Here's the path to my media, and you can browse for it. And here's the path to put the container on the cache. This would normally say user, and you just change user to cache to get it on your cache drive or your cache pool. So very simple. So let's go back. It's already stopped. Let's go to the main. And you can see that we can browse into the media structure for our share. And I can also browse into the cache drive to see that Plex is in the app data folder on the cache. So that's our normal Unraid setup. So let's stop the array. So if I remember, I'll also show how to auto mount the new share from the foreign NAS and how to delay everything, because a Synology or an ASUS Store or a QNAP NAS is not going to boot up probably as fast as an Unraid server on faster hardware. You want to make sure that share is ready to be used before your Docker container in Unraid tries to access that share. All right, so the array is stopped. Now I've got some things mounted already. And I want you to take note of how this says Sino 1019 space media and how these say the address of it, the web or the local IP address, and it has an underscore and then the media folder. So let me remove all of this. All right, so I'm going to be copying and pasting the user and the password from this Scratch document. So if I add remote SMB NFS shares, if I click on Linux and Next, and I search for the server, I don't know why I don't even see my older Synology NAS, so that's not going to work for me. So let's click on the Windows icon instead and hit Next. Now if I search for servers, and let's pick the older Synology NAS and hit Next. And now I will paste in the username I've created. And I will paste in the password. Next for domain. Load shares. Now I'll pick that shared media folder and hit done. I have successfully added a mount point that I can't use. This won't be seen in the container. So let's start fresh and do it the way that will work. Add a share, click the Windows again and Next. And this time I'm going to paste in the IP address of my Synology NAS. And hit Next. No search. Now let's do the username again. Hit Next. And then I'll paste in the password. Hit Next. Next for domain. Load the shares. And now I'll pick my shared media folder. And then done. So if you see this, you're good. So now we can mount it. And I can browse. Right there, I can browse in and see my media structure. So while we're here, let's go to Settings. And let's click on Auto Mount and Done. So if you are worried about your Unraid server starting up before your consumer NAS, like mine definitely does, on the older 11th gen NUC, and now it's on a 14th gen ASUS NUC. It definitely starts first. So let's go into Settings, and let's find Unassigned Devices, and let's see, where is our option? Right here, Remote Share Mount Wait Time. If you click it, the description is this is the time in seconds to wait before mounting remote shares when the array is first started. With my Synology DS1520 NAS, I use 90 seconds, and that's enough for me to then further delay the start of Docker containers. So while we're on that subject, let me go to my regular Unraid server. It opened off screen. Now this is on a fast 14th gen NUC, but it's so new, the GPU is not identified by Unraid because of the Linux kernel. If I throw Ubuntu on this, the newer kernel in Ubuntu 24.04 picks up the iGPU, and Plex has hardware accelerated transcoding. I just did this last week with a new hardware. For the first time in my life, I'm ahead of the curve, and I'm told I have to wait for the first beta of Unraid 7, the 7.1 beta, to have support in the kernel for my GPU. So I'll be running the beta version when that comes out and testing that all out. So Docker, you can also delay. I use this speed test, which is just testing the speed of my local network back to the speed test container. I use this as a sacrificial Docker container, and I add a wait time of 300 seconds. So between the 90 seconds, between the time it takes for the Unraid boot to happen and then the 90 seconds for the mounting of the share, and then the 300 seconds to start the container, and then a shorter wait time in between, it takes about 8 minutes for my Plex Docker container to start. And by then, my Synology NAS is doing what it needs to do. It's sharing the files, and this container points back to media on my Synology NAS. Under this normal setup of mine, I don't have any Unraid volume storage. It's used just as a Docker host for mostly just channels, DVR, and Plex. I do have FileBot configured, so if I'm away from home, I can rename something through FileBot on Unraid. I've got this gaps container. It looks for missing movies in a collection for Plex. I've moved Tautuli. Well, I didn't move Tautuli here. I just recreated a fresh version of Tautuli in 2023. These containers were moved from my old Synology NAS. And I was trying out a test BinHex Minecraft server for my adult sons and my sacrificial container. So that's kind of the backstory. So you may want to delay things for a slower consumer NAS to be serving files before you try to automatically connect to it. Now there's also a way to, on my Synology NAS, to share the IP address with Unraid so that the UPS the Synology NAS is plugged into can be extended to Unraid through the NUT protocol. So the UPS is the best thing for any NAS, Unraid or not. So this protocol works so when I lose power, the NUC is plugged into battery on the UPS, and the Synology is set up to shut down a couple minutes later. That sends a signal to NUT under Unraid, and I have my Unraid NUC set up to shut down a couple minutes after losing power too. So Unraid is great for pointing back to a consumer NAS, whether you're using storage in Unraid or not. All right, so now let's start the array. Let's make sure we're mounted here. We're mounted, we've got the auto mount set up, and you know how to delay the mount if you need to. So let's start the array. While we're waiting, you need to have this formatted. /mnt/remote/ the local IP address of your NAS _ and the shared media folder name. So I'm going to copy that. All right, so let's see what's going in Docker. Let's edit the Plex container. Let's turn on Advanced View and show more settings. So I need to add a new path to the foreign NAS. So I'll add a path. And actually, let me work off screen with my regular Unraid server. Let me just do this to show you what I'm going to do. This part I don't have locked down into memory. Now this I set up with individual paths to all the different libraries. I should have just used one master path, but that's how I did it a few years ago. I just want to copy this formatting. So we've got path set here. Name will be path : space / and I'm just going to call this something like, all lowercase, no spaces, Sino Plex Media. Something that'll be uniquely identifiable once we're in the Plex instance adding a new path. So here I'll recreate that. I want to definitely know it's from the Synology NAS. That's why Sino's in there. Now these don't have to be the same name. This is what's going to show up in the settings of your Plex server when you're all done. So now, normally you can just go and look for your media. This is the local media to the Unraid install. But I can't see the remote path anyplace. And that's where this formatting comes in. So let me copy it again in case I don't have it. Control C. So I'm just going to paste that in. And when I do and hit, well, I not enter, if I click here afterwards, just clicking afterwards, now I see the media on this share from my Synology NAS. And as long as I can see it, I know I've done it the correct way. So then you have to, let me see here. Add configuration. Well, on my other setup, I have access mode read or write. Oh, I do here. So if you're not running Plex with a DVR, you can just make it read only. You don't need to have it read write. So on my setup, I have it read write, and that way I can spin up a test DVR with my HD home run DVR. Even though I use channels DVR, I can record something in my regular Plex server. If you don't have a DVR, you can just make this read only. So now we're going to add, and that's it. We're going to hit apply. And our Plex container will spin up. All right, so Plex is running. So now I need to, well, I need to bring Plex in, but let me pause the video so I can cough. Okay, I'm back. Let's go into the server settings. Let's look for this server. Well, it's not available yet. Okay, it just came back. Took a second for it to be available after starting it in Unraid. So let me slide down. And I'll show you I've got libraries that point to the Unraid storage. So the alias for this path is Plex Unraid Media. Well, let's use this. If I wanted to add, well, what did I do? If I wanted to add the path from the Synology NAS to this, I can just browse for new media. And you see the alias for my Unraid media. And here's the alias for my Synology NAS media. And I could add this path if I wanted to. So let's not do that. Let's see what we have here. All right, I don't have a kids movie library. And again, this is all the same public domain media under Unraid and on this Synology NAS. So let's add a kids movie library. And we'll do it from the Sino NAS. So here's my alias. Here's my sort folder for movie libraries. And here's the kids' movie libraries. Or movie library. So I always set the collection size to automatically set a collection if there's 2 movies in the server. So now I'm adding that library, and you'll see it's scanning this media in from my Synology NAS. So really, it's not too difficult at all. It's pretty much easy peasy stuff. And let's just review. Okay, so you've got to paste in when you got to stop your array first of all. So let's stop it. You have to create a user on your consumer NAS, give it a unique password, and then prep for it. Have a scratch pad. Your user all set to copy and paste your password, and have the IP address of your consumer NAS already handy. And format this. Mount/remote/ the IP address _ the name of your shared media folder. Now I follow the rules of everything's lowercase, no spaces, until I get to the folder that Plex Media is actually in. So I haven't tested it with, an uppercase media space Plex or something. I haven't tested any of that. So get that ready. When the array is stopped, again, it's add, it's Windows, next. You paste in the IP address. Don't search for servers, hit next. Put in your username, next. Put in the password, next. Domain, leave, hit next. Then you can load shares. And I'm going to pick Docker. I don't think I have access to that by this user, but it can still see the shared media folder. And then go into the settings for that share and click Auto Mount. Hit Done. And let's try to mount this one that doesn't have permission. Oh, it did mount. So anyway, that's how you get it here. And then in the container, which we have to start again, have to start the array. You need to have this formatting all ready to go to use in the container, /mount/remote/ the IP address of the consumer NAS _ with the name of the shared media folder. Have that all ready to copy and paste in. Go into your container to edit, advanced view, show more settings, add a path. And I'm not going to get this set up. I'm just going to go to the path. And no matter how you go through these folders, you won't see your remote share. Paste it in and then hit enter right after it. I'm sorry, click it with your mouse, and then you can pick your whatever library folder you want to have it. Well, you don't have to actually. You just want to leave it. You just want to leave it with media with a slash after it. That's all you need. All right, so this is the fix for, let me find out his name, for @Mr. G1BZ. Any questions? Feel free to contact me. Thanks for watching.